How do differential diagnosis techniques from the medical world apply to DevOps?
So, effectively, doctors have been fixing people for about 3,500 years. So, I started looking into this, and there are about 15 million doctors all around the world, all using the same techniques to diagnose complex problems. We've been fixing IT computer problems for about 75 years at most. And in my experience, and the various companies that I've visited and worked at, there has not been one standard-based way of resolving a problem. So, effectively, the idea being that we could apply a standard framework for complex problem resolution that's used worldwide by the medical industry and actually in part by the scientific community as well, and actually say, look, there is a standard way of resolving a problem. This is it. So there are a number of other things and other methods that can be applied as well, such as mnemonics. So this is where you have a checklist of items, and in differential diagnosis for medicine and for humans, there's a set list that you work through. Your conclusion, your resolution, and the main cause of your problem is going to be in that list of items that they provide. So as part of my talk, I propose one for web and e-commerce, and I'm trying to push people to really come up with their own as well. But effectively, it's just about trying to standardize that framework and try and give an organized way of controlling and working with a team, collaborating on a complex problem.
What types of problems lend themselves to differential techniques?
Generally, it's the more complex. So these are the ones where you have a team of 3 to 10 people in a room, your sights down, you've got the business screaming at you saying, we're losing money, what's going on, what are you going to do? It's those situations. It's not the kind of one where, I just restart the web server and this problem goes away.
Sure.
It's not. It's right. Really where you need to collaborate. It's where you need the team. It's where you need more than one brain. And the framework gives you that ability to organize that team and to choose which of the tasks, which of your theories, which of your hypotheses you work on first, and a process for seeing that through to the end.
How do you introduce these types of techniques within an organization?
So some of the, there are some key things like the mnemonics, and I talk about diagnostic approach as well, which are, they pick up and they just drop straight in. The actual process of differential diagnosis, slightly tougher. And I've been trying to introduce it into one of my main clients, and it's been going great, but it's still early stages. Where I'm at now is I'm proposing the concept, and from that, I think I'll then lead on to a secondary piece of work, which is, right, these are the actual practical steps. This is how a guide to put it into your company, like a white paper or a follow-up talk. But, maybe some people just about to pick it up and see it, but the point of it is it just makes sense. So when you see it, you kind of go, wow, why didn't I think of that before?
Sure.
This seems obvious. I'd probably do bits of this, but probably I might choose some of it in some cases and some of it in other cases. But once you see the framework, generally the feedback that I've had is that people just, they're trying to expand upon it. They're trying to think about how they can integrate it themselves. So you kind of get that buy-in and that, just kind of straight away.
It seems like one of those odd ones where the buy-in might actually be easier on the business side. So because they can understand the scale and the efficiency and those
Well,
things.
the fundamental fact is that 15 million doctors can't be wrong.
Sure.
Yeah, this is taught at university. This is how you diagnose problems. In IT, we don't have that. It literally is. And some people are naturally good at it. And I kind of, before this, I kind of consider myself this kind of diagnostician role. I would go into very complex problems. I would get my hands dirty. I would try and lead that. But I found that I was using different methods. And so this has really kind of pulled that all together and said, right, this is how I can help control the flow of this problem, help get to that resolution faster.
So last question for you, and this may be a real reach.
Sure.
Do you see broader similarities between DevOps pros and doctors?
Of course, it's a bit of a reach.
Sure.
The doctors have many, many years training, but fundamentally, doctors resolve problems in people. We resolve problems in, e-commerce sites, complex, computing. So there is that whole, we do tests, we have monitoring, doctors have tests, have monitoring. There are similarities, and I think there's a lot to be learned, and I'll touch upon it in my talk, but kind of my inspiration for this, Jesse Robbins gave a talk about how being an EMT, a part-time EMT, can feed in the learnings that he's made into applying into his job. John Allsport, exactly the same. being creative, looking how NASA operate, looking how the airline industry operate. I think that we're a relatively new industry, and I think that we can learn from all of these other industries and all of these other roles. And I think there are some comparisons.
Sure.
Wouldn't call us doctors, but you know, it's there are some similarities.
There's the same ballpark.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right. Well, thanks for being with us. Appreciate
No problem
it.
at all.